There was no way I would have ever thought it was possible that responding to a notification on Facebook from someone I went to high school with would lead towards me being a victim of a potential homicide. We are all preconditioned to not respond to strangers on social media dating sites. But what about reconnecting with someone you have previously known? Does previously knowing the person make it safer or okay? No, it doesn't. Responding to that notification from him was the catalyst to a relationship that became extremely violent very fast. Obviously, his initial message did not expose any inclinations of intended ill will towards me. Our first conversation was actually based upon intellectual topics, which led to my attention being held longer than I typically allow. Our online conversations pertained to love, relationships, food, religion, moral beliefs, which contributed to further talks about meeting in person. I had known him in high school, so I figured it would be cool. We met at an event I was attending with my mother. During our talks online, he established a pattern of texting me. Where are you? Who are you with? Are you having fun? Initially, I viewed those questions as him expressing genuine interest in me, so I always responded truthfully. On this particular day, I replied, I'm at a performance for my niece, I'm with my mother, and yes, I'm having fun. About 10 minutes later, he sends me a video of the place I was in from the parking lot, saying he was looking for a place to park. In hindsight, I do realize the rudeness and creepiness of that. However, at that particular moment, I felt it was a very sweet gesture. I met him halfway from where he parked and brought him over to meet my mother. It was a very brief and simple meet. He got some food and left right afterwards. As he was leaving, he messaged me, well, I met your mom. It's official now. I interpreted that message as just being something cute from him to say. We met later that same night for drinks. He kept telling me that he couldn't fit all of his possessions in storage from his ex-girlfriend's house and how he needed possibly a garage or extra storage space to store his additional things. I had consumed a few cocktails and I was not sober, but I did tell him that it would be okay for him to store his items in my garage. He was very appreciative and said that he would keep in contact if he really needed my garage space. A few days later, I was attending the summer contest series at Edgewater Park, with my two children and my mother. Again, he said, where are you? Who are you with? And are you having fun? Once again, in hindsight, I should have recognized this pattern as being learned consciousness. However, at that time, I answered yes. I had previously joined. I replied Edgewater Live, my two boys and my mother, and yes. Once again, about 40 minutes later, he sent me a video. This one showed him being stuck in traffic on his way to exactly where I was. I was trying to convince myself that he was really just trying to prove to me that he liked me and cared about me enough to do what it takes to see me, even without an invitation. His visit this time was very brief. He didn't walk over to see my mother or my kids this time. His reasoning was that he did not want to get his shoes dirty from the sand, although he knew he was coming to a beach. I previously told him that my mother was the type to ask a lot of questions. That is simply the nature of parents. He told me that he did not have parents growing up, so I think the idea of being questioned by my mother may have scared him. That he would be uncomfortable around my mother because of her possible questions made me uncomfortable because it felt like something was off. But I try not to think too deeply into those issues because, well, I liked him and he liked me. I would run away so fast, never look back if I ever encountered this type of behavioral pattern again. I can say that now. But at that time, we started seeing each other more and more. About a month after we were seriously dating, he asked to use the garage space. I allowed him to. My children noticed his belongings in the garage and asked who they belonged to. I told them, and they asked to meet him. He agreed to meet them and said that it is only fair that he meet them since he was going to be around more. I was okay with that because he appeared to be such a sweet guy, and at the time it seemed as though we had very much in common. He came over with pizza for my children, and they seemed to like him. Everything was fine except for the way my dog reacted to him. She would make the strangest sounds and try to keep her distance from him at all times. I just figured that she would take some time for her to get used to him. He started spending the night, which ultimately led him to fully moving into my home. The first 2.5 months were very good. No arguing, many laughs, and he paid all the bills. When we initially began talking, he told me that he worked on cars for a living. He had all his tools in my garage, so I believed him. However, I began to notice that nothing pointed to him actually working on cars. He never worked on a car in my home. He never took tools with him. And he never came home dirty like a typical mechanic. I began questioning him as to where he was getting money from. He got upset and reminded me that he does indeed work on cars, but that he also sells a little weed. It was not that I condoned him selling weed, but now the extra money aspect made sense. I did not make a huge deal about the weed. However, as we entered the third month of our relationship, there was an evening that I noticed that he had some type of powdery white substance on his nose. I asked him if he had ever used cocaine, and if so, when was the last time? He admitted that he had, but he said that he had not used it in several months. He asked me why I asked that question, and I told him because there was white powder on his nose. He froze in disbelief that he had been caught in a lie, but he changed the subject so fast, I just told myself the ways to process them in the future. I'm not the type who will argue in my home where my children sleep. I continued on with the flow of the night, but I knew he had been lying to me, and it ate me alive. In my mind, I began to question his character and wondered what else he could have possibly lied about. I began to worry, and it showed because I started to distance myself from him. The following weekend, he confessed to me that he had, in fact, snorted cocaine on the day I saw the white powder on his nose and questioned him about it. He said that he was sorry and that expressed that it was not something he would do on a regular basis. I told him that was more so the fact that he had deliberately lied to my face and is now expecting me to be okay with that. I told him I would not dare do that to him and that he shouldn't dare doing it to me either. I should have left him alone then, but I didn't because he pleaded that he was sorry and told me that I did not deserve to be lied to. But he did ultimately tell me the truth even though he initially lied. I am a very forgiving and understanding person, so I did forgive him and trusted his word. Very big mistake. Soon after that, his anger issues began to show, and word around town was that he was selling more than just weed. I confronted him about this, and he told me that people were hating on him because he had a beautiful woman and because his life was progressing in a beautiful manner. I'm not one to nag or pry, so I did not ask or search any further. One of the triggers of his anger was the lack of strict discipline towards my children. I disciplined my children, but not in the manner in which he felt they should have been disciplined. My form of discipline is to ground them as in a week without electronics, but his discipline is that I ground them for eternity. I actually found out that he did not agree with my form of discipline through my 9-year-old son. I told my son to turn the TV on one day, and my son told me that he was not allowed to turn the TV on without asking him first. I was confused, but I just went with the flow. When he got home, I asked him why he didn't communicate with me about the electronics so that we could have a better understanding in our home. He again apologized and said he understood how hard it could be being a single mother raising 2 boys and not have a man around to discipline them. He then told me that I needed to be stricter with them and have longer periods of grounded time in addition to snacking them up more. I stayed quiet, and I thought to myself, but maybe he was right. He did have a point about me being a single parent trying to raise 2 boys with no constant male influence around. Although he may have had a valid point, he had a hidden agenda that consisted primarily in manipulation. I did allow my children to watch TV after some time went on. When he turned on the TV later that day and saw it was on a cartoon channel, he asked why I allowed my children to watch TV. He began to yell at me and told me that I was too soft on my children. I told him they had been grounded for some time and that no time limit had been set. He became so infuriated that he screamed my children were never allowed to touch his electronics again, ever. I asked him what it was exactly that my children did that warranted a lifetime ban from being able to touch his electronics. And he got up and slammed his 50-inch TV on the ground, breaking it into pieces. My children witnessed it, and I remained calm for their benefit. I asked him how he could possibly act in such a juvenile manner in front of my children. He told me to give him 3 days in order to move out. I let him cool off, and he came back with a huge sob story, but he also maintained his position that my children didn't know anything about life and that they needed to learn. At that point, I honestly cared less about what he thought. Regardless of what he felt my kids knew or needed to know, a violent home was not one of them. That moment was, again, one where I should have walked away. However, I listened to what he had to say, and he begged to stay and apologized to my sons and I, and promised that would never happen again because we deserve better and that he was going to make sure that we got better from him. We were 3.5 months into the relationship. He still never proved that he legitimately worked on cars, and his anger issues were still lingering in my thoughts. So I attempted to bring those issues to the table, and that the resolution be that we end our relationship. That did not go as planned. He completely disregarded everything I said and made it explicitly clear that I was his, I wasn't going anywhere, and for me to not bring up those issues again. That night, while we were in the process of being intimate, he made it very vivid that if I tried to leave him, he would kill me. He said, I would shoot my mother in the face. What makes you think you're so special? Hearing him whisper that in my ears during the sacred intimate act scared me to death. Anyone who can threaten something like that about their parent, and their reasoning being their parent was never around growing up, does not need to be in an intimate relationship. The only type of relationship they should consider being in is one with a therapist. Him telling me that really opened my eyes to the lack of respect he had towards women, period. I was absolutely certain that I was in factual danger now. He owned a machete, 3 mini swords, and 3 guns, 2 of which he kept in the safe, and 1 which he kept wrapped in his Muslim prayer rug right next to his pillow. Knowing he was in possession of these weapons, I truly felt that he would kill me if I left. The only thing I could think about was how nice I could be to him in order to keep him from killing me, as I figured out an escape plan for me and my children. The next day, I woke up, took my children to school, and when I returned home, he was playing with his machete in a manner that consisted of him chasing my dog around the house. She was scared for her life as he laughed about the noises she made from being in fear. My dog ran upstairs under the bed. He and I followed, and I yelled for him to leave her alone because this was not funny. He started thrusting his machete under the bed, saying, "Get out, little bitch," and actually stabbed her in the process. He punctured her paw so badly that she defecated on herself and bled for almost 30 minutes. He showed no remorse, as both the dog and I cried. I kept asking him why. Why didn't he care that he was hurting her, or even that he is hurting me by hurting her? This obviously angered him because he reached into the safe, loaded his gun, stared at me icily, and asked, "Do you need a real reason to cry?" Again, scared for the outcome, I calmed down, took care of the dog and the house, and then got ready for work. Before I left, I told him it may be best for him to leave for a couple of days, and that I would pack his things up so he can grab them when I got back from work. He said, "If you touch my things, that will be the last day you will ever be able to call the police." I looked up to the sky, said a prayer that he would leave on his own, and I left. I came home to flowers and a letter. A letter saying that he doesn't know what is happening, but he's going to fix it. He knows he has issues and he's going to get help because he does not want to lose me, and he loves me. He never apologized for hurting my dog. About a week after that incident, we were trying to have a good night, although there was still much tension in my home. I was trying to quietly deal with my nightmares and still figure out an escape plan for my boys and I. We had quite a few to drink, and I told him I was ready to go to the room. He agreed. I said I was going to take my shoes upstairs. I sat on the bed and I passed out. He woke me up extremely angry, saying I was supposed to come back downstairs and finish hanging out with him. At this point, it sounded like the devil speaking. It was the scariest sound I had ever heard. I woke up confused and apologizing for falling asleep. He slammed the door, went to take a shower, then came back angry again, waking me up and telling me to scoot the fuck over so he could lay down. I asked what was wrong. He told me to stop fucking talking to him. I said, "Here we go again." And when I said that, he jumped up, turned on the light, and started packing his clothes. He was throwing clothes at me, and I found myself again saying, "This is so juvenile." I stood up to walk out of the room, but he grabbed me and headbutted me so hard on my face that I fell to the ground. He started choking me, and before I passed out, I recalled him saying, "What is it? You want me to hit you, huh? Huh? Don't you?" I regained consciousness as he tossed me on the bed in order to choke me some more. By this time, my children heard the commotion. I attempted to remain quiet so that they would not wake up. That obviously didn't work. My oldest started calling out for me, but I remained silent as he mocked my son for calling out for me. "That's your little bitch. He's a bitch just like you." As he continued to choke me as I passed out once more.